Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We are doing book dates again. This is good. Um, Wanted to really kind of give that example of what that self care looks like. Those of you who are my students, you know that this week I really emphasize self care as an important part of this whole COVID-19 crisis. And I just got ill. It was both ill with a physical, there was also an ill with my head. I just felt really tired. But you know what? I rested, I let myself rest, and I'm energetic and I'm ready to share with you another book and how wonderful books and stories can be. So today we're going to do one that was a random find in the library, actually. The day that I found out that we weren't coming back to school for 2 weeks, that's how it started. I immediately went to the library because I just needed books and I didn't want to go to a bookstore. And this one, Hide with Me, came up and it intrigued me. Like, you do judge a book by its cover a little bit. And so I read a little bit into it, and it's got a really good suspense to it. And we have two stories of two people who are struggling and kind of how they come together. So we're going to kind of get introduced to who these two characters are and how they both have differing but intense conditions on where they just feel trapped and they just want to hide away. So this is Hide With Me by Sorboni Banerjee. To my mother for the love of reading, to my father for the art of storytelling, and my little brother for being my first audience. The boy. The girl was like a train. When I was a kid, trains ran on the old tracks behind our farm, and when they came to the whole house shook. At first, it was a roar so loud it had layers, deep rumble to high pitched screech. You couldn't talk or even really think, but then you got used to it. Maybe I shook with the walls. Maybe my brain was just too loud. But the train would pass, and the only sign that it had been rattled was the picture frames on the wall left slightly crooked. After a while, the slanted lines started to look normal. The girl was like that. Finding her shook on the walls of everything, rattled, crooked, loud, and the world that's starting to look normal when a girl derails and takes you into the town with her. When I found the girl, she should have been dead. What the hell? My dog's left paw was red, and so was his nose. I thought he'd killed a rabbit, which would have been a miracle because my dog Hunter is not a hunter at all. When rabbits dash out at him in the field, he jumps 4 legs off the ground and has to run in a circle to calm down. But that day he was whining in a real funny way, kind of like when he's hiding a bone, excited or freaked out. I can never really tell. I touched the fur under his snout, and his fingers came back all sticky and red too. Hunter ran a few steps ahead into the rows of corn, then turned around, waiting to see if I was coming. It was late evening after football practice, and I was walking through the edges of the farm, like I do. Like it'll somehow make the stuff start growing. And that'll somehow make my dad forget that I'm the only one around to beat on because nothing ever does. What? What is it? I grumbled at Hunter, and I saw what? In the shadows of the cornstalks was a girl. Her blonde hair was streaked with something dark red. Blood. It crusted over her swollen shut eye. Her other eye, bright blue, was wide open, all scarred. Her skin had gone gray. Her color had no color in her lips, pale neck quivering with her short breaths. I stood there for a minute, like she wasn't real. She looked like a car wreck, a movie, like someone beat the crap out of her. Her hand reached toward me, muddy fingers curled like she wanted to hold on to something. I dropped to my knees beside her. Good Lord, what happened to you? I asked quiet. She opened her mouth, but a dry sound came out. Air and pain. No words. I'll run to the house and get an ambulance. The girl grabbed my wrist. No. When eye open, screamed at me. I'll come right back. I don't have my phone with me. Her fingers dug in deep. Desperate grip. Terrified eye. That's when I saw it wasn't only her head was all busted. Her shirt was soaked in blood across the middle. Who did this to you? I asked. People don't get hurt like that by accident. The girl whimpered and tried to bring her knees to her chest, curl up and hide, kind of, but it hurt her too much. And she grasped her stomach and clenched. I'm calling 911, I told her. No. Her voice was raspy. Even though it had been a ragged whisper, it hit me like a scream. She said it in a way that told me she would rather die here in a field than get taken to a hospital. You really need a doctor. She shook her head. How am I supposed to help you then? Hide me. The girl. When the boy found me, I thought it was snowing. It doesn't really snow in Texas, but I was cold like it was. And I was thinking about how sometimes when it snowed back north, it was like little flakes were coming off the ground instead of the sky. The icy wind swirling them around so you couldn't tell which direction it started from. It was only light through little triangles of amber and white filtered through corn stalks, twinkling like stars or snow. When his dog licked my face, I wondered what it must feel like to be a deer, shot and dying and not understanding why or how. One minute, the deer was looking for food, breathing warm air, listening to only little noises that animals can hear. And then she's on the ground, panting in time with her heartbeat, fast and panicked, then slower and slower until it's dark. By the time that the boy tried to take me to the hospital, I had already decided it was better to die than be found. But when I said please, no, his gray eyes flashed like he saw something he understood. I'll take you somewhere safe. Okay? He said. I shook my head. There was nowhere safe. It's empty. Nobody even knows it's still here. His dog had inched closer. His tail was wagging. He looked at me like he was sorry I was hurting. I like dogs. I'm going to try and pick you up, the boy told me. He slid one arm behind my back and the other under my knees, but the second he tried to lift me, I made a noise that made him lower me right back down. Sorry. Shoot. Sorry. He ran his hands through his light brown hair and held it to his forehead because he didn't know what to do. He had serious eyes like a soldier, but light smattering of freckles across the slightly sunburnt nose that made me look at him like kind of a little boy at the same time. I'm going to try again, he said, and that time I held my breath and closed my eyes so tightly I saw colors. Every time he took, I could feel a slash through my stomach and where my shoulder hung, an eye that would not open. Faster, I told him. What if someone saw us? I'm trying to take it easy on you. Don't, I said. No one ever does. The boy. There is only one place to take her. She said she wanted to hide. I knew about hiding. On the farthest edge of the farm, hidden behind a tangle of brush and a small old cow barn. There hadn't been cows in it forever. Maybe the people way before us had some. We could barely afford to grow corn, let alone buy cattle. We're here, I told her. I was trying so hard to not hurt her while we walked. She was trying so hard not to show that I was. I kicked the creaky barn door open as gently as I could and laid her down on a mattress in the darkest corner. She looked nervously from side to side. It's okay. I sleep out here sometimes. Her brow furrowed like she didn't understand. This is where I come when I want to be myself, I told her. No one knows about it. Her shoulders relaxed a little bit. Can I see how bad you're hurt? I asked. The girl didn't nod or say yes, but she didn't stop me either as I reached the edge of her shirt. I couldn't stop at the sharp intake of my breath when I saw the cut. It went from her stomach sideways all up to her ribs. Is that who you're hiding from? I asked her. The person who did this? She didn't answer, so I know I was right. That probably was when I should have called the police, if I didn't hate the police. It's definitely when I should have said, this is too big for me, but I didn't, because she looked at me like I was going to save the world. So I wanted to. Instead, I told her I was going to go and get her some medicine. I know a place where I can steal some penicillin or something so you don't get all infected. I also knew she needed stitches for something for that eye, but I wasn't going to tell her that. Water, medicine, blankets, all that kind of stuff, I told her. That's where I'm going to get for you. All you and you need to stay right here. I took another look down at the gaping cut before pulling her shirt back down. It peeled open like a crescent, and I could see all the different colors and textures, light pink to white to blood. And the part where the knife went in and bruised a purplish black, like someone had tried to kill her and messed up. The girl. Everything I was carrying, I lost. Maybe I lost out in the fight somewhat side of the car, and I was hiding in the storm drain in the highway. It might have been later in the woods when I was running. I thought that I would never let go of the bag, that my fist was locked around it, but somehow it was gone, and I didn't know how. I couldn't see anything right in my head after the knife. She's in here. I heard voices outside the barn. The boy lied. She brought He'd brought someone. I tried to roll over, get up, get away, but my body was shaking and heavy. Hey, the boy came in and kneeled next to me. Don't be mad. It's my friend. I tried to throw my hand off my arm. This is where I got what I got for trusting anyone. But instead, I threw up, which made me almost pass out from the pain that it shot across my abdomen. Whoa, said the boy, backed up as it splintered over his shoe. Did you aim for me on purpose? Look, I know you're pissed I told someone, but you need help. I glared at him with my one open eye, and I tried to catch my breath. I hated that he was right. Okay, he called out. I told her you're with me. Come on in. Another boy hesitantly stepped into the barn. He seemed younger, with round brown cheeks and big dark eyes. I didn't even know this was out here. He looked around at the cracked beams and the dusty old cow stalls. His eyes landed on me. Hi, he said softly. My name's Mateo. What's yours? I didn't say a word. Oh, said the first boy. I never said who I was. I'm Cade. Maddie's dad's a vet. We took a bunch of stuff from his office. Animal medicine? I looked at the same way like they were crazy. Okay, fine. Kid the boy, Cade, said. You don't like this idea? Hospital then, where you should go be anyway. I shook my head violently no. Then it's either me, some fishing line, and a bottle of bourbon, or him. Cade laid it out bluntly. And at least he kind of knows what he's doing. I help my father out all the time, Mateo said, and I scrutinized his face. He looked trustworthy. And we have to clean you up before we start, he added. Cade saw the question on my face form on my face. Start what? Maddie's gonna stitch you up, Cade told me. Were they out of their minds? This kid was going to play doctor? No way, I choked out. Yeah, Cade said firmly. You said no to hospital. You think that cut is going to heal itself? This is your only other option. My face pounded. My heart beat like heavy breaths in my ear. Hey, Cade said, you got this far. You clearly don't want to die. The wolf cub. I could have died of hunger at certain low points in the beginning. And now, those who hunger for revenge or my place at the top are trying to kill me. The bullets barely change. I've only done what had to be done. My father always said, Quien con lobos anda alwa enseña. When among the wolves, we must howl. Survival is an instinct. I've survived like a wolf in the forest since I was a little boy on the streets, taking everything I could when I could. When the hunt is successful, wolves do not eat in moderation. Deer, elk, moose, they devour everything before them. There is no concept of later because in the wild that expectation does not exist. I read that long ago in an old city library where I used to hide. Many times when I was hiding, I was laughing because I had to run so easily from the sweaty, huffing shopkeepers who I would rob or lazy police pretending to stop them. But the day I found the wolf book, I was not. I was tucked in the dim aisles, waiting three stone-faced men looking to collect what they said we owed. They had me by the throat in the middle of the crowded market, but I was lucky. A bus hit the taxi. Everyone shouted, pushed, and in the confusion, I slipped away. I took every alley I knew, leaped across dumpsters, and balanced on the very edge of the wall behind the banker's big house, deftly avoiding the shards of glass that they had embedded into the cement to prevent thieves. That was the fastest way I'd found to reach the sill among the way through the broken window and my fail-safe secret passage to the library, a belly of safety no one thought to search. I hid in the far upstairs corner behind the biggest shelves until my heart stopped pounding and I could breathe in the musty air without gasping. I stayed there until the light changed outside and the whole room turned into a dusty amber. When I eventually focused on the books in front of me, all I saw were the animals. I put them down a thick book and filled the beautiful photographs of predators. I put down a thick book filled with a beautiful photographs of predators. As the sun went down and my stomach growled, I read that hungry wolf can eat 20 pounds of meat in a single meal. 20 pounds. That's like a man eating 100 plates of carne asada. I would not like I would not live like that, like a starving animal. I decided to believe in more. I got what I wanted because I demanded more, deserved it. Cars, boats, infinity pools, beautiful girls, and beautiful books. My own private library full. I into actual pet wolves, mente and corazon, mind and heart. Wolves live and hunt in packs, and the pack to bring down prey. Yet there is no pack without a leader. I got my name, Lobenzo, the wolf cub, because at 18 I was the youngest boss, but also the most ferocious. A wolf has 42 teeth, each specialized for tearing or stabbing flesh, shearing bones. I've always offered the choice: be one of my teeth or crushed by them. Cade. I knew the girl thought it was a mistake by telling Maddie, but I trust him like he's me. I've known him my whole life. I also knew Maddie was thought it was a mistake trying to help her by ourselves. God knows what this girl is hiding, but I'll be damned if it's one of those things that we're going to turn her in. I don't tell people secrets. They are secrets for a reason. Holy, Maddie's voice trailed away and his eyes went where he saw the cut. Of course they did. He's a gentle kid, likes to draw pictures, watch his dad work. I think I've only ever heard him swear, like maybe once before when they were a huge brush fire right across the freeway from our houses. Maddie shook his head. Yeah, because calling me instead of 911 was a good idea. How? I tried to reassure the girl. He can fix it. Her cheeks were caved in. Her ribs quivering under the skin made me think of a bird hits a window. Right, Maddie? I asked. You didn't tell me it was this bad. Maddie tried to collect himself. I mean, I guess the good news is, from what I can see, that no organs look damaged. The cut's long, but not deep. I think I think we can take care of it. He said like he had to try to convince himself more than us. Maddie drizzled iodine across the wound to clean it, and then bright rust color make it look even more gruesome. Hunter came over and put his head on the girl's feet. For a second, she almost relaxed, but when Maddie started dabbing the edges of the cut to clean it, she reached out in a panic. I grabbed her hand, and she clenched so hard my fingers went white. Have you ever done this before? She whispered to Maddie. Sure, he said, staring with extreme focus, and started as the stitches. On a person? Maddie glanced over at me. Yeah, actually, a few times. Not this bad, but I cut him off. Ain't his first rodeo, okay? Okay, she said with a long, shaky breath. The girl's face twisted in a grimace of the pressure of her skin being pulled back together. As the needle went in, a tiny whimper came out. Then he connected to the other side. She let out a loud cry. Shh, have some of this. I grabbed the bourbon I'd snuck from the house and tipped her to her lips. She sputtered at first, but then managed to swallow. Sorry, Maddie said. I should have brought some numbing stuff, but I didn't know what it was in a hurry like that with no noticing. The girl had made herself go still as stone. Cade, I need your help, Maddie told me. I pinched her skin together so that he could connect it with the stitches. Not too tight, he told me with authority, or you could damage the tissue. I knew then he really could do it. It was messy, but it was working. The girl. Rip, seethed, teeth clamped together. The stitches weren't as bad as the stabbing. Hiding was better than running, but my mouth went raw from gritting my jaw. For those moments, healing seemed worse than hurting. Mateo was leaning so close over me I could feel his warm breath go in and out. He was working hard. I watched Cade watching us and read his face that he'd only thought his friend was doing a good job. It was the only gauge I had. Cade wiped off my forehead and put some ice on my throbbing eye. He gave me more booze. I counted time with my inhale, exhale, and the needle that went in, out, in. Then, finally, Mateo sunk down and to sit on the ground. You're done. How does it feel? Cade asked. Awful. Better. I think you're going to be okay, Mateo said proudly. I tried to settle into the burn, in the steady heat of the pain. Now what? Cade asked him. She rests, Mateo answered. Then he pointed back at me. You rest. I mean it. Wow, you did it. I still think she needs more help, Mateo tried again. I know. For real. Yep. They looked at each other for a minute. This is stupid. We're being stupid, Mateo protested. Yep, Cade said again. Then, Mateo threw his hands up in the air. Thank you, I offered and interrupted softly, and they both turned and stared at me like they weren't sure I was really there and this has actually happened. You're welcome, Cade said to me. And you're crazy, Mateo said to him. Come on, Maddie, Cade said softly. You're not going to tell, right? Right? Do I ever tell? Mateo answered him and then turned his attention back to me. You really don't want to go to the hospital. Really, I said. Can I ask why? No. Ugh, Mateo made a frustrated noise and pulled down his hair. It'll be fine, Cade said. You stitched her up good. I hope, Mateo responded, and then turned to me with agitated sigh. I guess you're lucky Cade found you. You're even luckier I do what he asks. Look, I think she should see a real doctor too, Cade defended himself. But clearly, that's not something she's willing to do. I caught a funny look in his eye. The guy knew about being hurt. He knew about hiding things. Mateo pressed his lips together. Someone attacked her. I think we should tell the police. No police, Cade snapped. They're all corrupt. Gunner's mom isn't. Whatever. The sheriff still works with him with the rest of them, Cade grumbled. Anyway, thanks, Maddie, for everything. You're the best. Mateo wasn't winning this one. Fine, for now. Please, though, call me if you change your mind about all this and need help, he said, like he was really hoping we would. I'll come back in the morning to check on you, okay? Mateo looked back and forth from me to Cade. This is not smart, he said one more time. If she's worse tomorrow, we'll figure something out, Cade said. Mateo nodded uncertainly before darting out the old door. It was a light barn and was almost gone. And the cut set through the wood slats of the milky gray thorns, the last bite of gleaming day before day ends, and all whisper into sadness. Every day, everything had happened. Everything that didn't. Okay, Jane Doe, Cade said. You ever going to tell me about anything, or just hide in my barn till whenever? Till whenever, the soonest I could leave. Or how far enough away? How long does a person have to run before it's safe? My eyes felt like they were smoking. My throat choked. The fight that welled and that got me here was dry. Who messed you up like this? Why was he asking again? He had to know I wouldn't say. Cade. I hated to leave Jane Doe by herself, but I had to get back to my house and check in before all hell broke loose. I left her with blankets, some crackers, water, and painkillers. I needed to be in bed whenever my dad checked or it would get ugly. Thank God for Maddie. I don't know what I would have done with the girl otherwise. He always bailed me out. I reached up and touched the bumpy scar at my hairline. It was the first time he'd stitched me up. He'd gotten better. I'd stepped lightly onto our busted front porch. I glanced back at the cornfields, wondering where the creep who did this to the girl was, far away or somewhere nearby. Turning the front knob as quietly as I could, I snuck into the house. I made it all the way to the top of the stairs when my dad woke up from his chair. What? That you? Yeah, Dad, I said without stopping, hoping he wouldn't get up, but his footsteps lumbered behind me. Where the heck you been? Went for a run. He took one look at me and had me up against the wall. Bull, you get in a fight? No. Tough guy now. Starting trouble? I didn't get in a fight. Why you bloody then? He slurred. I looked down at my shirt, stained from carrying the girl. Hunter killed a rabbit and rolled in it. I got some on me. My dad looked at me suspiciously. Was that before or after you drank my whiskey? I didn't drink your whiskey. I pushed my hand off my throat and tried to duck out from under the arm. Let me smell your breath. I got close to me and slightly slapped my cheek, and then again, over and over. Mom boy, let me smell your breath. I didn't drink it. I tried to sound unaffected, but my adrenaline was starting to kick up. Where is it then, huh? Where's my bottle? I'd left it in the barn. Damned if I know what you do with your booze. Don't you mouth off at me. My father gave me a look of disgust and took a step closer. He towered over me. I'm not mouthing off. I don't know where it is. That's all I'm saying. My father frowned and blew out a sour sigh. You must have drunk it. I took a risk and said. He stared at me, his eyes all distant and squinty. Yeah, maybe. Good, he was calming down. I'll look around for you. Okay, Dad? Okay, you do that. He let his arms drop to his side and backed away. You know, I'm just looking out for you. Don't mess up your chances, Cade. You'll get kicked off the football team. That's it for you. You're worth nothing. Even after he left the room, my body stayed tense. I sat at the edge of my bed, clenched my fists and in my jaw and my fingers until my head ached. Looking out was supposed to mean showing me how to change the oil in my truck, gut a fish, start a charcoal grill. It was teaching me how to tell time, tell a joke, tell the truth. It was throwing a football around out back. He used to come to me every one of my games. At dinner, we'd talk about how to run plays better, rolling our eyes as my mom insisted I was already perfect. She somehow always had food stuck in her hair or to her shirt from the frenzy of what she considered cooking. My dad would tell her it was good, and then when her back was turned, he would make a gagging face. There was never a question that we'd eat was on our plates. Didn't mean we couldn't laugh about it, though there were many things that you could make round potatoes, chicken thighs, and rice. We had beans a majority of the week, and we almost lost out our money I knew we were almost out of money until the next harvest. We'd been eating a lot of beans lately. How can you turn your back on someone who they used to be? No 12-step program can help a person who won't even step off their own property. My dad hasn't been into town for 2 years, not since Mom left. I looked at my crooked bedroom door. Inside, the walls were cracked, the paint peeling. Outside, the corn was dying. The girl was hiding. I couldn't do anything about the weather or the soil. I didn't choose my mother or my father, and there was no guarantee I would get a scholarship to play college ball. All I could do was try my dang hardest to be the best. My only way out. I fell asleep thinking about the girl's bright blue eyes and told her I would help. Keeping a promise is one of the only things someone can control. Jane Doe. Thunder gnawed at its hungry noises in the distance. I lay at the top of the sleeping bag, listening to the rain come down harder and harder outside. I finally dared run my hand over the stitches, little pieces of thread holding me together. I couldn't believe that kid had actually did it. Mateo, or Matty, as Cade called him. Cade. Who was this guy? Why would he waste his time on a stranger if he knew anything about anywhere I'd been? I popped some more painkillers and wondered how many were too many. My stomach churned. Maybe I would throw up again. The barn was hot and still. I was caught in a giant sour exhale. Old air. Everything good about it used up. My eye pounded as if it had its own pulse. The sewn-up slash across my middle lit up little points of pain. match heads on my skin. But I welcome the pain, it said. You hurt because you're here. You are alive. You got away. Raph didn't. Alone, out in the barn, I couldn't help but think of him. His face, touch, voice rolled with thunder. I met Raph because of my last foster mom, Jessie. Before Jessie, it was the Richardsons, who opted out of being the foster family when the stipend wasn't as high as they hoped. Mr. and Mrs. Genova, who wanted to start the process of foster to adopt until they found out that they could have kids after all and didn't want a baby and a teenager. The young couple, Lisa and Chris, who left to teach sustainable farming in Chad. And of course, the group home where I first stayed when they said my Aunt Nikki was unfit. The longest I'd ever stayed in one place was when my mom first left me with her. The second longest was with Jessie and Tay. Jessie was a hot mess, but we got along. I would cook and keep track of the bills for heat, electricity, and stuff. But when Tay got a pretty big insurance payment from some short sort of work accident, things started to get weird. They'd always smoked pot, but now that Tay had money, they could get harder drugs. It was a couple of months after that when I met his nephew, Raph. Raph was Filipino too, and the cut jaw of his mottled, dark, sexy eyes and a grin that made you think about his lips for the rest of the day. One night when Jesse and Tay did a bunch of lines and were getting too PDA-ish, Raph rolled his eyes at me and said, "Want to get out of here?" And we did. We grabbed a case of beer and drove Tay's car out into the oil fields. By the time I had drunk two, I was laughing. Raph gave me another one, and I said it was hot in the car. He cranked down the heat into the mess and told me to take off my sweatshirt, so I did. Steam clouded inside of the windshield while the rain drips outside the glass. The oil pumps tilted down and up in the distance like long-necked dinosaurs, eating them for looking around. Raph traced the strap of my tank top and told me I was too hot for my own good. I said, "Prove it." He said if I wasn't so sweet and innocent, maybe he would. "Maybe I'm not," I told him. "Prove it," he said back to me. And we kissed, and I pressed up against him like I had seen people do. That's when the police rapped on the window and told us to get a move on. I was mortified, but Raph thought it was funny. When we got back, Jessie had passed out on the floor, a bottle of someone else's prescription painkillers resting in her hand. Tay was sprawled out on the couch, clearly hungover. There were open cans and empty takeout containers everywhere. "I'm so sick of living like this," I mumbled. That was the night Raph decided we needed to get out of there. And he asked, "Want to run away to Mexico?" I thought he was kidding, but he had friends there, connections, he promised. He'd lived near the border for a while and spoke Spanish well. He knew how to make money, a lot of money. And it's not like I didn't know what that meant. I'm not naive. Starting over has a price. And we went. For 11 sunny months, we were rock stars. Then Raph got shot in the head. And that's where we're going to end. We have a very intense beginning. We have two people who are just trapped by very extreme circumstances. Something tells me that they're going to really work together and something big's going to happen, but they're going to do something about it. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I will see you tomorrow. We are going to be shifting from realistic fiction into fantasy. This is Cursed. This is what we're going to be reading tomorrow. All right. This is going to be The Legend of King Arthur respun. It's whoever was able to pull the sword out of the stone would be the ruler of Camelot. And the question is, what if the sword had been made for a woman? So we're going to start the beginning of that one tomorrow. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.